This next
What does
5
that
years
mean?
of
I mean, Ari, what the hell?
I can also tell you personally, back when I was an intern at Glamour magazine, working under an editor, she said the most difficult person that she has ever worked with and the rudest person that she had ever worked with was Blake Lively.
All right, so I'm here with Ari Jacob. She's the founder of Creator Genius. She is a former talent agent, content creator, social media, also sued the New York Times for defamation, got into an extensive legal battle with them over their journalistic malfeasance, but we can talk about that in a little while. But we're here to talk about, I mean, Ari, what the hell? I just want to start right off the bat. I don't feel like I'm flabbergasted very often in this business, so to speak, anymore. I kind of felt like I had seen it all. But my God, I have never seen such a self-inflicted, unforced error here as it seems like Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have done to themselves. I mean, have you ever seen anything like this?
I mean, unfortunately, yes, and I think that's why, uh, I spoke out, I think, sort of early on in this whole thing because all of us have some pattern recognition, and everything that I kept hearing, I was just like, "Oh, wow, like, this sounds very familiar." There's always what do they say? "F around and find out." Like, sometimes people in Hollywood really think that they can just do just about anything and they'll get away with it, but
Well, Blake
sometimes that's not
Lively and
the
Ryan
case.
Reynolds, they have certainly effed around and they are finding out. And I think that's what's so surprising to me is not the false Me Too allegations, but the fact that they did not consider that they might make the situation much, much worse for themselves. Because what's shocking to me is that this thing had already died down. The movie was a gigantic, surprising sleeper success. It was one of the most successful movies, It Ends With Us, of last year. And it gave her, I think, a lot of prestige as a businesswoman, in fact, and the gossip died down. And I felt like she had come through it. If she had just, gone with the tide on this, instead of now, she has dragged the whole thing up and it's exploded, hasn't it? Don't you think it's blown up in her face?
I think so. I can't say that I can understand, like, how these plans are hatched, but I do think that they, um underestimated the power of social media and sort of like the Johnny Depp versus Heard situation, and like the fact that now more and more public figures are taking sort of like the Dave Portnoy approach to
Right.
let's have a press conference, emergency press conference right now, and just I think
Fight.
Brian Friedman was like, we're going to release all the text messages. I think that's a new strategy that now lawyers are having to activate, because if you don't do it right then and you wait even 6 months, like by the time the lawfare comes out, I mean, it's over for you. It's a tough battle because if you want to win in court, a lot of times the lawyers are right in saying, don't speak out right now, wait and say it in court.
Be
But a lot of
cautious.
times you don't even get your chance in court.
It's
So
not honestly, Ari, and I think you're getting at this. It's not about court anymore. I'm not saying that actual court decisions are completely irrelevant, but nowadays it's about getting your side out there. And really, the only one of the few mediums that people still take somewhat seriously, because journalism is completely bankrupted. People still take the arena of law somewhat seriously. And so, if you want to get your perspective out there and you want to fight, and you have the money to do it, you file those lawsuits, and you have an attorney like Brian Friedman who is willing to go General Sherman scorched earth and go out there and say that he's going to, what was it he said about Blake Lively? That he was going to obliterate her. People are sick of these false allegations and this Me Too bullshit. And also, nobody likes Blake Lively very much, if you haven't noticed.
yeah, I mean, when I saw the press around like old videos of Blake Lively, I honestly brushed it off because it just, like maybe she had a lot of bad days. I think the most kind of jarring interview was the one where the interviewer was asking her sort of, how do people approach you about asking you about the seriousness sort of this film? And she
Location
sort of,
share?
yeah, she retorted back with like, oh, should I share my location? I mean, that is very glib at very
Yeah.
at the very least. But again, I think that the public would have brushed that off.
I don't like the feminist chip on the shoulder. And she didn't, here Blake Lively is in that interview. She's as big as a whale in the belly. And I'm sorry, but that's what happens when you get pregnant. It's not some kind of, anti-woman insult, but she's got this big belly poking out. Most people, when they're that pregnant, they're like, they're looking forward to it. They're happy about being pregnant. So you say, congratulations on your pregnancy, congratulations on your bump. And Blake Lively gets all ruffled over that because it's an so anti-feminist. How dare you acknowledge this huge thing that's in your face right now?
This is sort of where I'm at right now. My spidey senses say there's something else going on here. And it's not just Lively and Reynolds potentially. You're looking at Sony. I don't know, what projects they're involved in. You have to remember Ryan Reynolds had $1 billion project with the Wolverine thing. And then in addition to that, Stephanie Jones, Stephanie Jones, the publicist that was initially representing Baldoni, she seemed to also blow this thing up in everybody's faces. I don't know, as somebody that has been in this industry for a long time, like her, she represented, I think, Jeff Bezos, who, if you don't remember, there was like leaked sex messages or something like that. This person has been in the thick of this. I think it was, I think that whole thing and the egos there. Stephanie Jones is married to a partner at WME. You have to just realize there's a lot of powerful people here. Okay. There's so much power dynamics interwoven into this that even I don't know. There's no way the public is going to know it. One of the reasons why I spoke out is because I saw a lot of people saying, oh, well, the cast unfollowed Justin. This must mean that they don't like him, that he's, a predator, blah, blah, blah. One thing that I experienced was if people isolate you, this is kind of like anybody that's dealt with like somebody with narcissistic tendencies, has dated a narcissist. A lot of times what they do is they take the people that are close to you or, anybody around you and they say, oh, that's a terrible person,
Right.
don't spend time with them. And so then what happens is like, let's say in Justin Baldoni's case, if he's not allowed to be seen with the actors, they forget like anything they knew about him, right? So let's just say if he's around all the time, they remember, oh, he's actually a nice guy. Like, it's like they get brainwashed because and this unfortunately could have been a tactic that was used, and the reason why they didn't want him around was maybe not necessarily because he was such a threat, but because they didn't want anybody to remember what a nice guy he was. Oh, he took
him,
a woman that was in a wheelchair to the premiere, and she was relegated to the basement too.
What?
That's what
a disabled woman to the premiere, and she had to sit in the basement because of Blake Lively.
Yeah, that's what you can look on his TikTok. He has the video of her. Yeah, so right. So it's like, even if somebody is a good person, if you're not around them and then somebody powerful is telling you they're a bad person, they're a bad person, they're a bad person.
And you're incentivized by that person's power. And you've got Colleen Hoover and Brandon Sklenar, no offense to them, but tripping over themselves to try to publicly support Lively. Brandon Sklenar saying, for the love of God, read this. It's like, come on, dude. We're not talking here.
I think they're pawns, right? Like, I think that those people were pawns.
Scared. I think they're scared, honestly, and to some degree. Well, intimidated. Maybe not.
Like, don't forget, like when somebody like, okay, so when you're, and I don't know how much like Justin Baldoni was like posting and all this stuff, but when everybody unfollows you, like, it's like you no longer exist in their world. Like, you don't see that person's stories. That's what happened to me. I'm like, yeah, you like completely forget, and not just do you forget, but you don't even get to see the effects of like sort of what you're doing, right? Once somebody frames you a certain way, it's like anything that you say or do can be twisted to fit that narrative, right? Good for Justin Baldoni. It seems like he has an unlimited amount of resources.
Well, and I want to say something about that. You mentioned the money, and I know that there are some Baldoni detractors, Blake Lively apologists, who will say that it's shady that he has this billionaire, Steve Sarowitz, backing him Let me just say this. These days, you pretty much need to have a billionaire backing you, or you just can't wage this kind of fight in court. And the guy is backing him because it's his production company. Steve Sarowitz is the one basically who founded and owns Wayfarer Studios. And so it's his money and his company and his blood, sweat, and tears on the line, as
Well,
well as Baldoni.
and spent the money allegedly so that he could focus on causes that are good for humanity, and they
Right.
had apparently arranged for 1% to go to a DV, an organization that supports women, or I guess anybody that's experienced DV. So I just feel like, yeah, I would be pissed too if I was a billionaire and I'm like, hey, let's put all this money into creative causes that's going to help humanity. And then now
This
you've destroyed.
egotistical actress just comes along and okay, tell me about what you're doing now.
What we've created is basically a platform that using AI will look into a specific niche and like tell you exactly what to film, tell you exactly what to say, give you scripts. We edit everything for you. And it's pretty like cutting edge. And it's just exciting because we're working with basically business owners that like, they know they have to do social media, but they don't really want to deal with it. And that's like 90% of business owners that are in that feeling that way. So don't have to deal with a lot of egos. Business owners are really fun to work with, and I like to support, small business, and so it's been fun. Yeah.
Well, it sounds
I'm
like
excited.
it sounds like a great business venture and a great app, so people should check it out. I'll link to it below. Well, speaking of businesses, today I was notified by YouTube that it has been exactly today 4 years since I uploaded my first. Why am I about to start crying?
Oh,
That's totally random, but I guess because I'm proud that I was able to stick with it this long, because it is a tough game. But it's been 4 years since I uploaded my first YouTube video, and I'm just really grateful for people, my fans and my supporters who stuck with me through some at times difficult stories, some weird tangents, a lot of drama. And there have been times when my life has been more difficult or complicated or busier, and I've had to only put out one video every couple of weeks, and then sometimes where I'm putting them out every day. But I am really proud and also grateful that people have supported me in this, and that I've been able to stick it out. And we're going on now 5 years of this, and I hope the best is yet to come. But I did want to show you'll get a laugh out of this. My first video, I had no equipment. I just sat in this hideous room in front of this hideous door, and I talked for like 15 or 20 minutes about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. I just kind of laugh at it. Here we go.
All right. So with all of the news this week about the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp situation, I thought that it would be a good idea, kind of a cool thing, to put together a basic sort of Cliff's Notes or Sparks Notes,
Oh,
a kind
man.
of.
I still talk basically the same way. I'm a little less animated now, but what's going on with my setup there? How did I ever think that was going to be attractive?
wait, I actually have a question. How did you get like inspired to like start a YouTube channel and like want to do this?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? It was Brian McPherson, Incredibly Average. You know who I'm talking about?
No, I'll have to
So
check them
he's
out.
the guy who originally uploaded the famous audio of Johnny and Amber, like the audio that made everyone see, oh my gosh, this woman is crazy. Where she's saying, I wasn't hitting you, or what, I wasn't punching you, I was just hitting you, and all of that. And so he was the guy who uploaded that originally, and he was one of the first content creators about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation. And so I got interested in that, and I would listen to him, and I would listen to some of the others, but mostly just to his channel. He had these really great, well-constructed videos just completely taking apart Amber Heard's claims. And I remember thinking to myself, you could do something kind of like that. I mean, it wouldn't be as intricate or as sophisticated or as good as what he's doing, but like, you're a professor. At that time, I was teaching English at a college. You can do that. And it was just kind of
That's
this
cool.
little thought. And what happens is, over time, those inspirations, they grow and they get stronger, and that voice in your head gets louder and louder until finally the voice was so, not to sound crazy, but the voice in my head was so loud that it was like, okay, it's time to do this. And what I
That's
want
cool.
to say to people who want to do something like this, maybe not as your job or your career or your calling in life, but even just as a hobby. I've had so many people, you probably have as well, say to me, I would like to do this, but I just am afraid, or I can't get started, or I don't know where to start. This is where you start. That awful video that you just saw, me with
Yeah.
that hazy video, gesticulating too much, moving too much with the brown door behind me. That's how you start. You just start doing it. And what happens is every day you do it and you learn a new skill or you get a little bit better, you make connections over time. And then the next thing you know, you've got, I'm not huge or anything and I want to get a lot bigger, but you've got a decent sized little following online, and you're having your voice heard on various things, and you're getting to do creative things that really nourish your soul and your mind. So I just want to encourage people, if you have a dream, even if it's not a career calling or something like that, but if you have a little voice in your head saying to you about something, anything, you could do that. Just start doing it.
Yeah, I agree. One of my mentors told me, just get your reps in. Like, it's just like at the gym. Like, once you get your reps in and you start to get comfortable doing it. I used to hate doing any kind of public speaking because my dad would always say, "Oh, why did you say like and and so much?" And the more you do it, the less right, the less that you might say or and you're never going to get through that until you try. And so you can't expect to be great at it right off the bat. And but yeah, I agree. And that's really encouraging that you say that to people because you have to start somewhere. So congratulations on 4 years. I think that's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you so much. And you do have to start somewhere. And also, I think the biggest thing to overcome is you do have to let go of people thinking that of the fear that you're going to look silly or you're going to say something stupid.
You are gonna be
You
look
are.
silly, and you are gonna say something
You're going to
stupid. So
offend people. You're going to say
just
stupid
accept
stuff.
that and then move on and do it, right? Because it's not
Yeah,
gonna be the end of the
absolutely.
world.
And the key for me with this, getting over this psychological hurdle, and I talk about this a lot in some of my philosophy videos on my philosophy playlist, but it's what Steve Jobs said once at the famous Stanford commencement speech. He said, "Remembering that I'm going to be dead is the biggest motivator for me in getting over fears of failure and embarrassment, because once you realize that you're going to be in the ground in a number of decades, then people's opinions of you, fears of failure, embarrassment, they just melt away." So
Yeah,
on that note,
absolutely.
kudos to you for making it through the big
Thank
storms in
you.
life that you've been through. And I really believe that for you and for both of us, the best is yet to come. Thank you to my viewers. The links are below for Ari's app, and I've got some playlists below, and you can also link to her channel below. And of course, I always appreciate tips. If you want to send me a channel birthday tip, my PayPal is below as well. But I do appreciate your support. Could not have done it without all of you. So thank you so much, Ari. I will see you again tomorrow.
Thank you. Yeah.